day.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Before we leave the office, every day, me and my second man down there at the office, we always ask, and even if we forget in person, we're driving home and one of us texts out and said, "We win today." So like
that's
every day, did you win today? Mm-hmm. And there's some days you didn't win. I said, "No, man, we'll get tomorrow, bro."
Mm-hmm. And that's powerful too. And you've got people to hold you accountable, and you're sharpening each other by sharing that information, inspiring each other up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It is good stuff, motivating each other like that. It's like we talk about stacking wins, and speaking of stacking wins over there, there's Mike Claudio. Good to see you, brother. We'll get you in the rotation here quick. Yep, we'll get you. But putting your feet on the ground in the morning, like that's the first win of the day, right? I'm able to suck air. I'm standing. I'm vertical. But what I do from there is how the tempo of my day is going to go from there. Am I reading my daily reflections? Am I taking that moment to clear my mind? Did I wake up right away and start scrolling Facebook? Did I start checking emails before I got to work? Those are all things. If I'm doing that, I'm setting myself up for failures almost immediately. For me, I have a certain ritual in the morning that kind of sets my tone for the day. I get up, I pray, I read my daily affirmations, get my cup of coffee, jump in the shower, then I go to work, then I check my phone. And that's hard. We were talking about the battle that you have in your head. And that's one of the struggles that I battle with, especially early in the morning, because out of habit, man, it's like, I'm like this and I have notifications. One thing, as you notice, I don't have notifications on there. You know what I mean? Because I had to do that visual aid for those notifications. I had to remove that from my life so I can put that armor on before I walk out the door to be able to battle the day's battles. And 90% of them are self-inflicted wounds that I imply on myself.
And this is so amazing. It's like the opposite that you would expect coming to a roofing convention. When someone outside the industry thinks about roofers and thinks about things, they have a whole different impression than what's here. There's, I was telling them earlier, if you want to be a better salesperson, you want to be a great salesperson, first be a great person. Be a great person by practicing those morning rituals. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Ty, you reminded me of that. I believe he was a Navy SEAL. He gives a speech and he talks about the first thing he does every morning is make his bed, because that sets him up for success. It gets him on a path. He's got this. He's got it on his routine. He gets it done, and that's his first win for the day, for him to pick up some momentum and get some more small wins and have those small wins turn into big wins. So absolutely. I just wanted to say you reminded me of that. That's an amazing speech.
I think there's a book to Make Your Bed.
Yeah, I believe so.
Like that. Yeah, I think Jana, I heard her listening to it. She blares it. We both have separate bathrooms. I got fancy problems today. So I can hear her blasting her podcast through the wall in her bathroom over there, which is kind of cool, which reminds me, I better consume something good today, because she's over there consuming stuff, because I can't let her be one level above me today, right? It's a competition. I'm a very competitive person.
That's right.
Going back to what you were saying about the morning ritual, like that's one of the things during my Fearless 44 when I was talking, that you notice all the Alex Hormozzi's, everybody, man, Andrews Coolian, Bedros Coolian, I'm sorry, but all those people, man, they have a morning routine. They talk about that. And I'm going back through Atomic Habits again, like just kind of retouching that book. And it's just as many things you can make a habit that you don't have to make that decision. It's like it just, you get up. I was listening to Hormozzi this morning, and he was talking about a sales tactic that he uses or whatever. And part of it was like trying to get people to buy supplements. He said, well, I want you to take like prescriptive, like telling them when to do it. They haven't even bought it yet. But set this by your toothbrush. What do you do every day? You brush your teeth. Set it there so you don't have to think. You don't want to add another habit to it, right? So just creating that. And I'm in the process of trying to tighten up my morning, because you get up and and then when you miss things because it's not habitual, then you get in the car and say, man, I didn't do this. Or then you just feel, out of sorts the rest of the day.
Right. Well, speaking of that topic, you're one of the most disciplined and motivated people that I know when it comes to working out and eating right and eating healthy. You've always been disciplined in that area of life. How do you maintain that?
Man, a lot of failure before and then getting older, and because you can't, when you're younger, like you can just power through everything.
Right.
After you can skip a month and not train, you know what I mean? Like, but then you hit 50, bro. Like, I just finished 75 hard about 7-8 weeks ago, and then within a week or so after that, I hurt my back and I wasn't able to really do anything. And it's like I already feel like I've lost everything that I did. You know what I mean? Like,
It's crazy.
So-
You completed 75 hard and then you hurt your back afterward.
It's never a planned thing. So like when you go to lift, you know you're about to do your back. So it's like, you know, yeah.
We just had a beast step
Bro,
in.
Ty just got
Yeah.
jacked.
I'm
Look at
Tyler.
this.
Mike Claudio.
Nice to meet
Nice to
man.
meet you.
Yeah.
How you doing?
How you
Mike
doing,
Claudio.
DJ?
No, Ty went for got a workout in. No, I mean I've done Save Hard a couple times. I've done the Live Hard program. I've completed once, and just listening to you guys over there, like that morning routine and that discipline and showing up and get, like I call it the winning streak, right? You set your morning up for success. You get those wins that you set the standard on. Like you created the definition of what success looks like for you, and you execute that. It builds that momentum. It builds that confidence going into the day. Because wake up 15 minutes late one day, like the rest of the day goes to hell.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, most of the time in the morning for that morning routine, it's for your body to get you rolling. But man, it's for your head more than anything else. First thing I do, I wake up, I say thank you. Not to anyone, not to anything. Just say thank you. The weirdest thing happened. All of a sudden, your mind like finds things to be thankful.
Mhm.
And you have this kind of spirit of gratefulness that will last the day if you do it right. And then I write in a journal. I'm a big journal guy, so I'll write every day. I'll write my goals, and you write them down and put it down on paper, and that kind of makes it firm.
Yep.
And then you avoid. The opposite is, it's one thing to do things, to add things to make yourself more effective and more positive, but the second half of that is avoid all the crap that wants to come in.
Right.
Keep the rate. Don't turn on the news. For one day, I decided I'm resigning of the general manager of the universe. I'm not getting paid for it.
Right.
I'm not going to fix Russia. I'm out.
Right.
Leave that to somebody else.
No, but a good point on that, like what you consume, right? And I've actually had some of my clients record their own gratitudes and then listen to that back.
That's very powerful.
Right, because you listen to yourself saying it, right? You say things out loud, they tend to be a lot more impactful, a lot more measurable, right? Even just things you want, say it out loud, it manifests it differently than just thinking it, positive and negative. When people say they're not good, like kind of jokingly, they kind of start to believe it.
Right.
If you record yourself, like saying your affirmations or saying your I ams or saying your I wills or saying what you're and like when you listen to that when you need it,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, that's right, that's me. I can be that guy
And
again.
I know you've done
Yeah.
Fearless 44.
I actually haven't.
Have you not?
No.
You familiar with
What is
I've
this?
done
I need
Fearless
to do-
44. I completed it one time.
Well, part of Fearless 44 is your you got the 50 you got 5 categories and you make 10 of my 10 excuses you give yourself, 10 things that you're grateful for,
Blessings,
10
consequences.
blessings, consequences if you don't do them. So you got those 50, and it's every day you have to review those, right? So what I did, going back to what you said that your clients do, is I actually said them out loud and spoke them into a recording so I would hear myself saying it. So on the way to work, instead of listening, I might do a podcast or something, but that's the first thing I'm gonna listen to. And it's by the time I go through it, it's like a good 5 or 6 minutes, of me saying, going through that, and then you're hearing yourself say it, not just skimming over it.
That's a great way to set yourself up for success for the day. So Dan actually comes in and does some sales consulting with our roofing company, and he's got this mantra, and we say it at the end of every training we do when he comes in. It's amazing. You can
I
tell it better than I
did it
can.
just
So go ahead.
listen, you got to pump yourself up. You got to get yourself in the zone. Like, so my name's Dan Jordan, DJ, but people call me Deej or the Deej
On his shirt.
because the Deej can do things that, Dan Jordan could never do.
100%.
You got to
Yes.
put yourself in the zone. So to get yourself in the zone, that's why I made this thing. So it sounds like this. It says, I lead, not follow. I believe, not doubt. I create, not destroy. I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader. I'm a force for good. I'm a force for God. I set the standard. I defy the odds. I stand up. I take charge. I win. And then I walk in like a flipping animal. You can't say no to me. When you're if you say that 10 times, in your head and then out loud, maybe you're ready to take over the world, because that's what sales is. I'm sorry, I'm on a roll. I'll stop after
Go.
this. But
Roll.
sales, more than anything else, is a transfer of energy. And, in every transaction, in every conversation, a transaction is taking place. Someone's either buying or they're selling. Sometimes it's a product and a service, but all the time it's energy. All the time it's that attitude. And somebody buys that, and, the product just comes right in.
That's right.
No, and what, like, I love that's the alter ego, right? It's the alter ego.
Exactly.
And utilizing alter egos can be an incredibly powerful tool, no matter where you are in your leadership journey or sales or whatever is. Some people use external, what I would call, the alter ego. Like, what would he do? What would the D's do in this situation, right? If I'm you, like, what would he do in this situation? Like, what would Jesus do was the original alter ego, right?
Exactly.
WWJD. But what I like utilizing, I'm actually talking about this afternoon on the main stage, is utilizing the future version of you as the alter ego.
Woo.
What would next year's version of Mike be proud of right now? What would the next version, what would version 3.1 do? I get chills just talking about it.
Yeah,
Like,
I do.
it's so powerful when you like show up and you say, I want to be the best version of myself. What would that version of me do in this situation? They're going to make the call. They're going to get out of bed. They're going to do the rep. They're going to drink the water. They're going to shoot the video. What are they going to do? What would that version be proud
That's
of?
awesome. My
And that's been
dad,
incredibly powerful for me.
I'm sorry, that's
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
My dad used to say more succinctly, he was a little an immigrant, and so I'll do it in his little French Jewish accent. And he said, Danny, in this country, you want to make it, you act like the person you want to become.
Love it.
And very soon you'll see that person in the mirror.
Fake
Act
it till
like
you make
that.
it, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
Just another
Well, Ed Millett talks
Yeah.
about that, about not wanting to get, to where he meets his maker at some point, and he's showing him this person. He's like, man, I don't even recognize that guy. He says, that's who you're made to be. You just,
Yep.
and he don't want to.
Yeah, God's version of it.
That's exactly right. So every day, that's his goal, is to try to be that person.
Yep. It's good stuff.
That's it. But so that's a challenge, though. Who do you want to be?
Right, exactly.
That's my keynote this afternoon.
Oh, all right.
So, Mike, I've heard a lot of good things about you. Is that your brand, Win Fast? I know we've never met. And had a chance
So
to talk,
Win Rate Consulting is
Okay.
the brand. So Win
Okay.
Fast, Win Often is the tagline, we'll say,
Gotcha.
of creating those morning routines, creating those wins and execute them fast and often, create the winning streak, create the positivity, create the confidence.
Right.
And so it's a big part, like championships and winning is a big part of the brand. I'm big on the sports analogies. It's all over our brand.
For sure.
But we had these hats made, the big win hats. And I was like, I called my apparel guy. I was like, I want win as big as you can fit it on a hat. And we want to give them out to people that are getting big wins in their life. And people wear these hats all the time about just representing that success or that accomplishment. Because so many people are capable of so much more than they give themselves credit for, right? And when you can set a target, accomplish a target, create that morning routine, create that success, get that sale, get that hire, whatever it might be, we are so quick to devalue that win. And like, we're so quick to be like, yeah, but, or like, yeah, like I got lucky. No, bitch, you worked your ass off for that thing, right? And allow yourself the ability to celebrate. I think like social media has taught us don't celebrate because the trolls come out. Yeah. Right. Oh, who are you? 40, fearless 44. Yeah. They get in your DMs, they get in the comment section, and they, but like they're watching.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like hate me all you want, but you're still a fan, man. You're still watching the content, right? Yeah. And so, but win rate and like winning and win fast, win often is the tagline around. There's a whole story behind. It pulled me out, like this concept pulled me out of a darkness at one point.
Right.
Where like if I didn't win the next decision, like death was a real option at that point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so the win fast, win often for me was like, if I don't win this next decision, I'm gonna end up at the bottom of a bottle. And like at that point in my life, it was 2019. I was in a dark spot, like real dark. Yeah. And I think the win fast, win often mindset for me was like, I have to win this next decision for my wife, for my sons, for my family, for my business. Because if I don't win this next decision, if I eat that bullshit, if I have that drink, if I watch porn again, like it destroys me. And so that was really where the win fast, win often started, was pulling me out of this hole at one point. Now it's turned into more of a tagline, and now it's actually evolved into fire fast, win often. Because I'm all about firing people, and so my client base now jokes about fire fast, win often. Yeah. But that's where kind of the brand kind of evolved from.
That's good. I've always heard hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah, fire fast, win often.
Well,
Let's
so
go.
let me ask you, because you're the sports guy here. Why do people have to wait till they're in that dark place before they bring it up?
Good question.
You know what I mean?
I don't think you recognize how far you slip.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't, in sports it's easy, you got a damn scoreboard right there. But in life, I think you take a day off, you take a week off, you take a month off, and then it's like, you drink a little bit here, you drink it, and then mine got a problem, and then next thing you know, you don't see it, but you're drinking every damn day, right? And then, but then it takes something that just like jolts you back. I mean, like something's got to slap you upside the head. There was a moment at some point, where it's like you come to a self-realization. I have people in my family that deal with stuff, and we're like hammering them, but dude, until they realize it doesn't matter. But it's that switch. And like I said, in sports, it's easy. Like look at the scoreboard, like we're getting our ass kicked. You know what I mean? But in life, there's nobody. That's why it's so important to have your circle, man, because they hold your ass accountable. You know what I mean? When I ask my man, did we win the day? The next morning we'll come in and what did we do? Where we lose and shit? Like mentally, like, yeah, things are going to happen good and bad, but like, how did we end up at the end of the day feeling like we lost the damn day? And let's not do that shit.
Yes, it
Just
goes
say
back
it.
to those morning routines. Yeah, so it's like I years ago, maybe it was Jim Rohn. I don't know, one of the the old timey guys that would do
It
this
all
stuff.
came from him.
Everything. I was at a convention once, like 4 out of 5 speakers were
Yeah.
saying a thing like Jim Brown. He's like, the definition of success is simple little disciplines practiced every day.
Mhm.
So it's the consistency of those little things, and so you won't fall down if you're doing those little those morning routines. It goes back to the same. It's like a mutual admiration society. Everybody's talking the same. Nobody screwed up here.
Well, no, but I think to your question though, why does it take to the bottom, right? I think winning's hard. Like winning a championship is hard. Like I say all the time, like no one wins a championship with a clean jersey, and so like the pain of the change to win becomes greater than the pain of staying until you're at the bottom. When you're at the bottom, the pain of staying there is greater than anything you could do. And that was my story. You know, my story was like the pain of staying in that dark place was greater than any pain I could imagine. So I might as well go get it.
Ooh.
And that was like the transition for me. Because when you're comfortable, you're making money, you can afford alcohol, you can afford trips, you got enough, right? I got a nice house comparatively, right? At that point, it was I'm not going to allow myself to feel this bad anymore. Yeah, because there was a season of my life, a lot of people don't know this. I was 330 pounds. I was a 47-inch waist. I was miserable. That wasn't 2019. I started making some improvements, but like, I think the reason it takes the bottom is because the pain of the thought of what it's going to take to win overwhelms people. And it's easier to stay where I'm at.
It's powerful.
Yeah. And just back to the question, I was just thinking in life, it's much easier to fall into the hole and get yourself out of it. And back to what Ken was saying about that, it's about the people you surround yourself with. But I think if you know, most guys are probably just like me and hard-headed and have to learn the hard way. They got to go through it, thinking that it's all going to be good, thinking that it's going to be okay until they hit that rock bottom that you're talking about. And then it's so hard to get out of, but you've got a life decisions you've got to make. And, you know, like you say, you got to stand up, take charge, and win and make a change.
So let me ask you, I'm asking your advice, both of you guys here, because, you know, after you get a little age on you and you've overcome big problems and you've lived through big problems and you've seen a lot of, you know, death and dismemberment and problems. And other people come to you all depressed about stuff that you know is a bunch of garbage. I mean, it's like nothing. It's this. And you're so tempted to say, dude, this is pissant stuff. What are you doing here? And how do you get that person going without, you know, pushing them
I
down?
can tell you, this is very personal to me. The way I came up and the struggles that I had a certain threshold, and to me, a bad childhood was on a different scale, right? And what do we all do with our kids is we try to give them a life better than us, right? So then it's the flip side, and they have things almost too easy, right? And that's, at least that's what I found. I made things too easy on my kids, you know what I mean? And then they start hitting struggles, and the way I reacted to it was horrible. And I'm going on 3 years of not speaking to my oldest son.
Oh.
And he lives like 20 minutes from me. I've not laid eyes on him, right? And I reached out to him, but the problem is that I did not understand that what would hurt me, it took a hell of a lot more, and it took a lot less for him. So my pain's not the same thing. Like you watch MMA fighting, and these guys have like gashes and their fingers sticking out the side. It's like, damn, how's he even like? But their pain threshold, like they're not you, man. Like they do this, and so we are hardened by our past, and it kind of creates this callousness that we're guys has been. And I say this all the time: if you've not been through stuff, I don't really trust you, man. Like, you know what I mean? Just hearing the story, I know I can trust this man because this man knows who he is. Like, you don't know who you are till you get smacked in the mouth, right? Yeah. But you have to still look at the scale of what other people's struggles may be at a different scale. And I think as a developing in leadership is you have to be aware of that, you know, and to understand that that's big for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. So I'm a business and life coach. This is what I do. There's a lot of gray area in that space right now. What I have found works best in that scenario is don't judge them for what made them feel that way. Relate to them as in when I felt like you felt, this is what I did. Because no matter what the situation is, your worst day is still your worst day. And the process to get out of that is the same. You know, whether it was dismemberment or like, you know, your wife, you know, yelled at you, like it's still your worst day. Like I don't judge the severity of the infliction. I meet the pain where it is. Like we really take it very seriously to guide our clients where we want them to go. So to do that, you have to meet them where they are. And so when I felt like that, this is what I did. Not why I felt like that. I'm not going to take my pile of shit and say, well, my pile of shit's bigger than your pile of shit, so you should care less about your pile of shit. It's still your biggest pile of shit you've ever had to deal with and work through. This is what I did to work through when I was where you are. This is how I felt. This is what I did. This is how I got out of it. And that's how I meet people and say, I don't have to agree that you should feel the way you feel. I just have to understand that you feel the way that you feel, and I can relate to that and work through it together.
I know you're a business guy. Is your business, your coaching business, is it more geared towards life? Is it more geared towards a little bit of a mix between life, leadership, business?
It's a big mix.
Gotcha.
And so when I first started coaching like 6 years ago, when I went full time, I was doing sales coaching. I was a roofer. I ran a roof company. I did sales coaching. And then I realized I got really good at helping leaders get better. And like business is simple. Like it's not easy, but it's not complicated. And when I'm like, okay, well, 12-month contract, we're like 90 days in. Well, we fixed most of your business problems. Like, what are we doing for the next 9 months? Oh, we're going to work on you. And so over the last 6 years, it's turned into more life, but it's very much so, what do you need right now? And sometimes like that week might be, okay, this is what you need to say to that guy. This is what you need to say to your wife. This is what you need to do to your morning. Set your fucking clothes out the night before you so you can get to the gym in the morning. All those conversations happen. And so it's a very good blend, in my opinion, between like leadership, business, and personal development. Like Mike Claudio specifically is doing a lot more personal development of CEOs now. My team, because I have 8 coaches on the team now, are handling different things. Like I have a sales expert, a finance expert, a marketing guy, who all run companies right now, but each have their own sphere of expertise. And so when a client comes in, we say, what do you want? What are you looking for? We do a questionnaire, then we assign them to the coach that's best suited to help them in the situation that they're in or why they came to us.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And you got like a Barry White voice. What's going on with
I've
that?
been talking for
are you
3 days.
kidding?
I have to be on the main stage this
Okay.
afternoon. So, but I talk a lot. It's just what it is. It's
Well,
getting tired now.
That's
though.
where it all starts, with personal. You gotta
Yeah.
get your personal life in order before you can lead anybody else. So
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you brought in a trainer, right, or coach
yeah,
of some
yeah,
sort,
he's
right?
a sales consultant. They come in to our company. He's local to our area. We're based out of Atlanta. We're just north of Atlanta in Marietta. They've been coming in for 5 months now? Has it been 5 months? I don't know, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. What was the trigger?
The trigger is just knowing that we needed to get better at our sales process.
Mm-hmm.
We're a company that prioritizes customer service and going above and beyond for the customer, but we didn't have a sales process. So I heard him speak at a networking event, went, shook his hand, talked to him, knew he was about it, knew he was the real deal. We had a lunch, hit it off real well. So brought him into the company, and he's been training our guys up and teaching us the process so we can integrate that along with our customer service and how we treat our customers and just going above and beyond. And I feel like that'll make us unstoppable when we're able to combine those two things. And just like he said earlier, to be a good salesperson, first you have to be a good person. And those values aligned exactly with how our values align with our company. So
Love it.
it was a good
His
fit.
company was really easy because he does start with values. Like their morning meetings start with, these are our values. Tell me which one speaks to you most today and why. And so everybody's talking about that, and it's
Awesome.
just something. So I mean, businesses start.
Makes your job a lot easier.
Yeah. For them, it's just like, hey, use this word instead of that word. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know?
I just see so many people trying to do it on their own, you know, and they hit these ceilings, right? I'm sure you've seen a lot of it. Like you're like 2 or 3 little pixie ducks from you. Those 1 or 2 words unlocks the next level for that company. And it's just so cool. So I mean, you've been through it and the stuff you've been coached on. I'm sure Ty's been pouring into you, and that 1 or 2 little words, those 1 or 2 statements unlock a whole new world of possibility. And congratulations to you for investing in your team. And
There's always
that's
more to
incredible.
learn.
That's incredible.
But you know, you said something that impressed me about that. You said, listen, I'm not going to trust anybody that hadn't been through stuff. That's so true, because there's so many coaches and trainers out there that they're really good at the philosophy of things, but man, they can't speak to that. They haven't, there's someone who hasn't run a $30 million business. They can't tell somebody else how to do it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I've talked about this a lot on my podcast. I get asked a lot, like Mike, this coaching thing, right? It's a very weird world. And I think what happens, I think there is a coach at every level. I think there is a 2 that should coach a 1, right? What happens is the 2 tries to coach the 9.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the whole coaching world has become very muddled, very gray, is that like, yeah, you've done something. Like, yeah, you're a coach. You can't charge 10 grand a month yet. Go charge your 250. Go help the guy who's a 1 still. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be helping people, but stop pretending that you're better than you are. That's what I've seen in the coaching world.
That is strong.
Yeah. It's almost like the cap that John Maxwell talks about within your company. As the leader of your company, you've got a cap, and you're not going to be able to bring people on that are above you in that area. You're going to hire people that are at that level or less. And it should be the same way with coaching. Obviously, it's not, because you've got all these coaches out there that are marketing and saying they can do this and they can do that, maybe even saying that they have done this and have done that, but they haven't. So, but yeah, no, I
But
agree.
even like guys like you,
100%.
like I have clients all the time like, Mike, I feel like I want to help people, but I don't want to be a coach. Well, don't be a coach. Just go help somebody who was solving the problems now that you solved last year.
Serve.
That's it.
That's it.
If you want to charge for your time because your time and lessons are valuable and people value what they pay for, great. But like you see people all the time that are like at different levels and different seasons. But I think you right now, because of what you've invested in yourself, could go help the guy who's 2 or 3 steps behind you, because you still feel that pain.
Absolutely.
You're like, man, I just climbed over that wall, man. Like I'm watching you and I'm right there. And like I'm as you evolve, you have to level up who you're coaching, because you get a little disconnected. I can't help the startup anymore. I'm too disconnected from that. I'm in like that 5 to 10 million. I'm not trying to coach $30 million companies. That $5 to $10 million revenue company is perfect for me right now, because that's where I'm at. I understand the leaders of those worlds, because that's what I've built. Right. And I think so many coaches don't do it because they're afraid of the negativity that comes with the coaching world. Like, you could coach somebody right now on how to be a dad, or how to be an athlete, or how to be a leader, how to sell better, how to be a great employee, or whatever it is.
He's coaching me. I'm just from this.
But but people get afraid to do it because of the way people talk about coaches. And I think if you just stay in your lane and you just coach that person that's 1 or 2 degrees beneath you, that's exactly where you should be.
That's it.
And that's where I started. When I first started, I was charging $500 a month. I'm not charging $500 a month anymore, right? Because I evolved, I grew, I proved value, I showed value over 6 years. I think guys like you should be pouring into the people that are behind you.
Absolutely. That's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people get afraid to put the content out, or like, who wants to hear what I have to say? You're comparing yourself to him. He doesn't need to hear what you have to say. The thousands of roofers in Atlanta, or just Georgia specifically, need to hear what you have to say. You could be a local legend pouring into the guys behind you. That makes you feel so much better. And learning to teach, which you guys have all experienced, actually makes you better at the content. You actually learn it better to be able to teach it.
We talked about that this morning. I told him this morning, you're outgrowing me. It's time to move on. I said, there'll be a time that you go, hey,
Well, this is interesting timing.
You're gonna take that. It's time to close, young man. But
Yeah.
that's well. I got to ask you. So, how did you get into this whole thing? Like, what was into roofing? Into roofing, where you are now? You're someplace now. How did you get here?
Oh man, I was a state rep selling high school football helmets for Rydell, and all the concussion stuff hit in 19. And I was like, I'm gonna lose like 80% of my business because everybody's saying we're not gonna do tackle football anymore. So a buddy of mine worked for Hunter Ballou, and he's, man, whatever you do, come and talk to this guy. And I went in and met with Hunter, and Hunter's a hell of a salesman.
Yes,
and
he
he
is.
convinced me that I needed to go out and I would be great at door-to-door roofing sales. So I went out and within 2 months I led the company and
Look at that.
sold 85 roofs in 60 days.
Let's go.
And then
No shit.
That's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
4 months
Bro, you
later-
like put that on the wall and retire, bro. Those are
So,
numbers, man.
60 days.
So yeah, we hadn't
people
had
don't
a
sell
hail- we
85
hadn't had a
roofs in a year.
hailstorm in we hadn't had a hailstorm in like 3 years, and then we had a little one up in the Duncan area, and I sold 34 the month before it, so we were 2.5 years out of a storm. And then when the storm hit on May 5th, by the end of that month, the 2-month combination was like 80 something. But being 49 years old when I started, and I coached 78 sports teams in 6 different sports, high school football for 23 years. So I'm if you look at my level, like when I'm a coach first, so I'm not like trying to become a coach based off of roofing.
Yeah.
I'm already a coach, like that's my heart. So I was a coach first, then I was sales second, and then roofing just happened to work its way in. And so my passion was to coach. So I was like, well, damn, I'm doing pretty good at this. So I immediately start kind of breaking down film. Like, well, why am I good at it? How can I teach this? How can I coach this? So I can get off of these damn roofs and show somebody else how to do this.
Right.
So
How long were you in roofing before you sold those 85 roofs?
I started January of 2020, and this was April, May.
No
Those 2
way.
months.
Dang,
Wow.
look at that. That's
Were you in sales before?
I mean, Rydell sells itself. I mean,
He's
it's
a
like
coach.
that's 2 quarters.
So he's
Helmets.
Every
Fucking helmets.
Yeah.
dude, everything is a sale. Like
Right.
I tell people when I talk to a group, I'm like, look, a lot of people are uncomfortable being tagged. I'm a salesman because you think about that used car sales guy. It's just like a jerk.
It's got a bad
Right. And so I said, everybody is here because of a sale. And then they just look at me like crazy. I said, because either your mama convinced your daddy or your daddy convinced your mama.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody convinced somebody or
That's right.
something. And I was like, if you're married, that was a sale. If you got a job, that was a sale. Like, you know what I mean? So I get them in the mindset that we do this every day. Right. So it just goes back to coaching, man.
Yes, I love that. And that's exactly. So I just get to tell a story. So again, my dad's like an immigrant, Jewish guy, came here, and there ain't no Jews in middle management back in the day. You weren't going to do that. So everybody owned their own business. So I'll graduate high school. My dad says to me, he says, "So Danny, what are you going to do?" And I gave him some job or whatever. And he says, "Danny, in this country," he says, "remember this." He says, "You get a job, you have one customer, and he's called the boss. And he gets a wild hair up his tuchus and decides to fire you. You got nothing. You got goonish." But he says, "Danny, if you're a salesman, well, then you have 100 bosses, but they're called customers.
Right.
And if one of them fires you, who cares? You got 99 more." But his whole idea was that financial security doesn't come with getting a job. It comes with the ability to be able to earn an income anytime, anywhere, any place. And that's what sales does for you. So it's not helmet sales or roofing sales. You're a coach, baby. That's what makes you go. Don't worry about how to sell. Worry about why people buy. And people buy you because you're awesome.
Dude, I need Deej as a hype man, man. That's legit. I need the Deej in my life every morning.
Doing
Man.
any more
That-
podcasts?
No,
I don't even think
you need to get on the podcast.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We'll hook up after.
Yeah,
I
we'll
don't
definitely
even
will.
think we've talked to Dan Jordan. We've talked to his dad.
Yeah.
We've talked to
We've
not even met him.
Actually, you haven't met Andrew. Right now, you're talking to the dean.
The
that's what I'm
Deej.
saying.
I like the Deej.
He's in the house.
Good
That's
stuff.
good stuff, man.
All right.
Good talk,
What else
guys.
we got going on?
Man, I don't
Is
know.
somebody else.
So I want to bring up one
Okay.
more thing.
Yeah.
We're circling around. One more thing, something that you said that caught my attention, something that I've struggled with. You said something about posting your wins on social
Mhm.
media and how social media and how the media and everything has told us that it's a bad thing
Yep.
to do that. And I've struggled with that because I don't want to post and say that I'm bragging or
Mhm.
think that I'm bragging and just being too much. We had a big win in our company this year, and I'm part of Revolt. So I shared that win in the accountability chat, and I was like, I'm not bragging on myself. I'm not the one to usually talk about myself like this, but we had this win, and there were several people that commented back on that accountability chat, and they're like, "Dude, that's not bragging. That's sharing your wins with the people that you love, the people
Mhm.
that are going to hold you accountable, the people that are going to fire you up and celebrate those wins with you." So I just thought about that, and I just wanted to circle back to that because that was good.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what you're not thinking about are the A players that want to work for a champion.
That's right.
And not posting those wins. You might get the C, D, E players are going to talk shit because they don't get it. But there's an A player out there right now, like someone like this who's working somewhere else that's looking for a culture, looking for a leader, looking for someone that inspires them. And you not sharing those wins is underserving the A players.
Yeah, it was really put into
The
perspective.
nerve of
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
The nerve
How
of you
dare
not
you.
sharing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
I
stuff.
appreciate you all
Yeah.
for being here
Good
today.
stuff. Thank you.
All right, guys.
We're good.
Yep, that's it.
All right, Ty Backer out.